On an autumn afternoon in the small town of Willowbrook, Missouri, Rachel Sanders walked slowly between the library shelves. Her belly was pleasantly rounded. During the quiet hours before children returned from school, the library was bathed in warm afternoon sunlight. Rachel had spent much of her childhood in this library. While her mother Linda and sister Brittany indulged in glamorous social activities, she had escaped into the world of books. This place, where she now worked as a librarian, had become her most peaceful sanctuary. With her gentle and patient nature, she was beloved by the residents who visited the library, but her relationship with her family had always been complicated. Her mother Linda was a woman famous in the town's social circles. Running a beauty salon and serving as an officer in local charity organizations, she always prioritized appearance and reputation. Her sister Brittany inherited her mother's beauty and sociability, working at a local fashion boutique while attracting attention from the young men in town. 3 years ago, Rachel had married Jacob Miller, a high school history teacher. He was a gentle, intellectual man who understood the beauty of Rachel's inner self. However, when Rachel announced her pregnancy, her mother and sister's reaction was cold. "More trouble, I suppose," Linda said with a frown. "Can you even afford to raise a child on your salary?" Brittany snorted and added, "You're really good at choosing such a dull life, aren't you? If it were me, I'd live more excitingly." Rachel was hurt, but her husband Jacob supported her. And above all, Jacob's mother Margaret welcomed her warmly, which was her salvation. Margaret was a woman full of compassion who cherished Rachel like her own daughter. "You're going to be a wonderful mother," Margaret said, holding Rachel's hand. "I'm so happy that my son found such a lovely woman like you." Rachel's pillar of support, her father David, had died suddenly of a heart attack 4 years ago. It was a sudden death. During his lifetime, her father was the only one in the family who understood Rachel's worth. He took pride in her work at the library, encouraged her love of reading, and always told her, "You are a daughter with a beautiful heart." After her father's death, the family dynamics became even more unfavorable to Rachel. The inheritance her father left was mainly managed by her mother, but interestingly, Margaret had been appointed as the executor of the will. Her father had highly valued Margaret's character and judgment during his lifetime. As closing time approached at the library, Rachel was finishing her last tasks. When the baby in her belly kicked gently, she smiled and placed her hand on it. She didn't want this child to be treated the way she had been. She sincerely wished to raise the child in a loving home. When she returned home, Jacob was preparing dinner. "How was your day? How are you feeling?" he asked gently. "I'm fine. But lately, the baby has been getting more active," Rachel answered happily. The two shared a quiet dinner while talking about their unborn child. They had decided to name her Sophia, after Jacob's grandmother. That night, Rachel looked at her father's photograph and thought, if her father were here, he would surely be overjoyed about his grandchild. Although she had grown accustomed to the cold treatment from her mother and sister, she wanted this child to walk a different path in life. As long as Jacob and Margaret were there, this child would grow up loved. Believing this, Rachel fell asleep. In late October, Jacob was away on a business trip to Kansas City in the neighboring state, attending a state education conference. It was planned for 3 days. "Are you really okay?" "I'm sorry to leave you alone," Jacob looked at Rachel with concern before departing. "I'll be fine. Mother Margaret is nearby, and I'll contact you immediately if anything happens." Rachel kissed her husband's cheek and sent him off. However, that night, Rachel woke up with severe abdominal pain. Looking at the clock, it was 2 a.m. At first, she thought it was just mild pain, but it gradually became regular. It was still too early, she thought, confused. When the pain reached 10-minute intervals, Rachel finally called Margaret. "Margaret, I'm sorry. I think labor has started." I'll come pick you up right away. Don't panic, Margaret's voice was calm and reassuring. Upon arriving at the hospital, the doctor confirmed it. Yes, you're definitely in labor. It's a bit early, but the baby's condition is good. Let's proceed with natural delivery. Margaret continued to hold Rachel's hand. I was alone when I gave birth to Jacob too. You're a strong woman, so you'll be fine. As labor intensified, various memories flooded Rachel's mind. How she had almost no memories of being embraced by her mother as a child. When her sister Brittany was born and she was 5 years old, how she was constantly told, "You're the big sister now, so you must be patient." At school presentations and sports days, Brittany always received attention while she was pushed aside. It hurts, Rachel groaned involuntarily. The pain is an important signal that your baby is being born, a midwife said gently. Just a little more. After 7 hours had passed, Rachel was crying. There was physical pain, but even more so, emotional pain was overwhelming her. Will I be able to be a good mother? She asked Margaret weakly. Of course you will. I can tell just by watching you. Look how much the children at the library adore you. You have natural maternal instincts, Margaret answered with conviction. 12 hours after labor began, at 2 p.m., the moment finally arrived. I can see the head. One more push, the doctor encouraged. Rachel gathered her last strength. Then, a small cry echoed through the delivery room. Congratulations! It's a healthy baby girl. The nurse placed the small life, cleaned of blood and amniotic fluid, on Rachel's chest. In that moment, the world changed. A deep love she had never felt before welled up from the depths of her heart. Sophia, Rachel whispered with a trembling voice. My Sophia. The baby wrapped her tiny hand around Rachel's finger. At that warm touch, Rachel cried again. This time, they were tears of joy. Can you contact Jacob? Rachel asked Margaret. A few minutes later, Margaret's smartphone rang. It was a video call from Jacob. Rachel. Are you okay? I'm sorry I couldn't make it in time, Jacob was speaking frantically from a corner of the conference room on the screen. Look, it's Sophia, Rachel turned the baby toward the camera. Tears welled up in Jacob's eyes. Beautiful. Both of you are truly beautiful. I'm driving back right now. I'll be there in 3 hours. Drive carefully, Rachel smiled. After ending the video call, Rachel gazed at her newborn daughter. Sophia was moving her tiny mouth and occasionally making small sounds. I'm going to pour so much love into this child, Rachel vowed in her heart. I'll give this child all the affection I never received. Margaret sat in a chair by the window, watching the mother and child happily. Watching you two reminds me of the day Jacob was born. Becoming a mother is truly a sacred experience. Rachel suddenly felt a thought cross her mind. No matter how complicated their relationship, she wanted to share this joy with her mother Linda. And she wanted to let her sister Brittany know that she had become an aunt. As family connected by blood, she wanted to share this happiness. Maybe I should call Mom, Rachel said to Margaret. Of course. But let's rest a little first. Childbirth was hard work. Rachel nodded slightly. After confirming that Sophia had fallen asleep, she too gave in to fatigue. But in her heart, she was imagining the moment when she would share this wonderful news with her family. Surely her mother and sister would be happy. Since they were family who shared blood, they would certainly celebrate the birth of new life from the bottom of their hearts. In the evening, Jacob rushed into the hospital room. He looked back and forth between his wife and daughter, crying quietly. Thank you, Rachel. You're truly wonderful. The three embraced quietly. It was the beginning of a new family with little Sophia at the center. Rachel's heart was filled with hope. She fell asleep surrounded by her loving husband and daughter. The next morning, Rachel woke up in her hospital bed. Sophia was sleeping peacefully in the bassinet beside her. Although Jacob had stayed with her all night, he had gone home temporarily this morning to contact the school. "Good morning, my angel," Rachel spoke to Sophia in a soft voice. The baby was sleeping peacefully, her tiny hands clenched tightly. She had made up her mind since last night. No matter how complicated their relationship, she wanted to tell her mother Linda about the birth of her grandchild. As family connected by blood, she wanted to share this joy. Around 10 a.m., Rachel picked up her cell phone. As she dialed her mother's number, her heart raced. She would surely be surprised and delighted. After 3 rings, she heard her mother's voice. However, lively music and laughter could be heard in the background. "Hello, this is Linda." "Mom, it's me, Rachel." "Rachel? What time do you think it is?" Her mother's voice sounded a bit irritated. "Mom, listen." "The baby was born," Rachel said, unable to contain her excitement. "Last night, a healthy baby girl was born. We named her Sophia." On the other end of the phone, the music volume decreased. However, her mother's reaction was completely different from what she had expected. Linda snorted. "I'm busy with Brittany's birthday party right now. Lots of friends are here, and I ordered catering too." Rachel was confused. "But your first grandchild was born. Sophia is such a beautiful baby." "Rachel," her mother's voice became cold. "Why did you bring another useless person into this world?" In that moment, Rachel's heart almost stopped. The word useless echoed in her head. "Another dull, worthless girl like you was just born. There's no pride in our bloodline." From the other end of the phone, she could hear Brittany's shrill voice. "What are you doing? You're ruining my special day." Brittany seemed to have grabbed the phone. "Having a baby on my birthday is ridiculous. Everyone was listening to my stories, and now it's all about you." "Give me back my special day," Brittany continued. "It's my important birthday, so why today?" Rachel answered with a trembling voice. "Brittany, I can't choose when to give birth." "Shut up!" Brittany screamed. The phone went dead. Rachel placed her trembling cell phone on her lap and felt tears streaming down her cheeks. In the bassinet beside her, Sophia made a small sound. "I'm sorry, Sophia," Rachel said while crying and picking up her daughter. "I won't let Mom call you useless. You are my treasure." At that moment, the hospital room door opened. Margaret appeared with breakfast. "Good morning, Rachel. Jacob contacted me." Margaret noticed Rachel's tears. "What happened?" "I called Mom," Rachel explained while suppressing her sobs. "She called Sophia a useless. Just like me." Margaret's expression changed completely. "What did you say?" Rachel told Margaret every word her mother and sister had said. Margaret's face grew increasingly angry. "Unforgivable," Margaret said quietly. "Absolutely unforgivable." Margaret took out her cell phone and dialed Linda's number. On the other end, she could hear Linda's voice. The party music had stopped. "What did you just say? Useless? You called your daughter and granddaughter that?" Margaret's voice was ice cold. "Your words are inexcusable." Rachel was surprised by Margaret's resolute attitude. "And don't forget, I am the executor of the late David's will. The monthly living expense support for you and Brittany ends today." From the other end of the phone, she could hear Linda's panicked voice. "Margaret, wait, that was just a joke." "A joke?" Margaret said sternly. A mother calling her grandchild a useless is a joke. People with such values don't deserve to manage David's estate. Also, I have connections as a former judge. I look forward to seeing what happens to your reputation in this town. Margaret hung up the phone. At that moment, Jacob entered the hospital room. Seeing his wife's tears, he immediately understood the situation. What happened? When Margaret explained the situation, Jacob's expression also turned to anger. I can't believe it, he took out his smartphone. I can do something too. Jacob opened his social media account and began posting. Today, our beautiful daughter Sophia was born. However, my wife's mother and sister called this angel useless. They said her sister's birthday party was more important. Is this what family is? The post included a photo of Sophia. Rachel is a gentle, strong woman. Her mother and sister don't understand the value of this wonderful woman. But we do. Sophia will grow up in a home filled with love. The post quickly spread among local people. Comments supporting Rachel poured in one after another. Rachel wiped away her tears, surrounded by the people she loved. Holding Sophia to her chest, supported by her husband and Margaret, she understood for the first time what a real family was. Bonds formed by love and respect were much stronger than blood relations. Thank you, Rachel said in a small voice. I'm truly happy to have you both. The next morning, Rachel had just finished nursing. Sophia was sleeping peacefully, wrapping her tiny hand around Rachel's finger while looking satisfied. Jacob had gone out temporarily to explain the situation to the school. Margaret had gone to the hospital cafe to buy breakfast. Around 9 a.m., there was a knock on the hospital room door. Come in, Rachel answered, and the door opened. Standing there were Linda and Brittany, looking completely different from yesterday. Linda's eyes were red and swollen, and her usually perfectly applied makeup was disheveled. Brittany looked the same, her usual confident expression nowhere to be seen. Both held flower bouquets in their hands. Rachel, Linda said with a trembling voice. We need to talk. Rachel answered warily. What do you want? Please, listen, Brittany stepped forward. We're truly sorry about yesterday. We said terrible things. Linda approached while crying. Rachel, I'm really sorry. That was just a joke. I had been drinking at the party, and I got carried away in front of everyone. A joke? Rachel's voice was quiet, but anger was contained within it. Calling my daughter a useless was a joke? Yes, it was a joke, Brittany also said desperately. I really care about you and little Sophia. I was just excited about my birthday at the time. Linda tried to approach the bassinet, but Rachel stood up and blocked her. Don't touch her. Rachel, please. Aren't we family? Linda pleaded while crying. We're family connected by blood. Please forget about yesterday. Forget? Rachel's voice rose. You've treated me as useless for 31 years. And now you said the same thing about my newborn daughter. At that moment, the hospital room door opened and Margaret returned. Seeing the two of them, her expression became stern. Oh, you came, Margaret said coldly. Margaret, Linda turned around in panic. I'm truly sorry about yesterday. But stopping the support. Support? Margaret raised an eyebrow. For 4 years since David passed away, I've been providing $2,000 monthly. For your beauty salon business and Brittany's living expenses. Brittany turned pale. Stopping that is cruel. Cruel? Margaret said in a harsh tone. What's cruel is calling a newborn baby a useless. Linda fell to her knees on the floor. Please, Margaret. We need the support. The beauty salon's sales are declining, and Brittany's job is unstable. Mom, Brittany also knelt beside her mother. Please. We're truly repentant. Rachel looked down at the two of them. For the first time in her life, she was seeing her mother and sister bowing their heads before her. However, what welled up in her heart was not a sense of victory, but deep sadness. Repentant? Rachel said quietly. You're not repenting for hurting me. You're repenting for losing the support. Jacob returned to the hospital room. Seeing the situation, he immediately stood beside his wife. Jacob, Linda said desperately. Can't you talk to Rachel? We're family. Family? Jacob answered coldly. Family doesn't call a newborn baby useless. But blood relations can't be erased, Brittany said. We're sisters. Rachel took a deep breath. Memories of the humiliation, neglect, and contempt she had received throughout her life flashed through her mind. And at the same time, the deep maternal love she had been feeling since last night also resided in her heart. Blood relations, Rachel said quietly. Yes, we're connected by blood. But that alone doesn't make us family. Rachel picked up Sophia. Look at this child. Look at this beautiful baby. You said another useless person was born. I'm sorry, truly sorry, Linda repeated while crying. It's too late, Rachel's voice was firm. I'm tired of being hurt by you. And above all, I want to protect this child from your poison. For the first time, Rachel stood up with a resolute attitude. You who called my daughter worthless have no right to be involved with this child. Rachel, please, Linda tried to stand up, but Margaret stopped her. That's enough, Margaret said sternly. Please respect Rachel's decision. But how are we supposed to live? Brittany said while crying. That's your own problem, Jacob answered. It's the consequence of looking down on Rachel for 31 years. Rachel held Sophia to her chest while looking out the window. Outside, fresh green leaves were beginning to sprout, heralding the arrival of spring. We have a new life, Rachel said without looking back. Sophia will grow up in an environment filled with love. In the love of a real family, without discrimination or contempt. Linda and Brittany stood up. Despair was written on both their faces. Rachel, one last request, Linda said with a trembling voice. Please give us another chance. Rachel slowly turned around. In her eyes was a strength never seen before. You had 31 years of chances. But you never once tried to understand me. Now it's different, Brittany said. It's not different, Rachel shook her head. Your actions now are for money, for appearances. Not from love for Sophia and me. Rachel said finally. I want my daughter to grow up surrounded by people who will shower her with unconditional love. That means Jacob, Mother Margaret, and true friends. Linda and Brittany couldn't say anything. They placed the flower bouquets on the floor and left the hospital room. When the door closed, Rachel cried quietly in Jacob's arms. These weren't tears of sadness, but tears of relief from being freed from years of burden. You did well, Jacob gently stroked his wife's head. We are your real family, Margaret said peacefully. Sophia made a small sound, as if supporting her mother's decision. Rachel smiled while gazing at her daughter. 6 months later, warm laughter echoed as usual in the children's corner of Willowbrook Library. Rachel sat with Sophia on her lap, reading picture books to small children. And the ugly duckling became a beautiful swan, Rachel concluded the story with a gentle voice. What's important is believing in your own worth. The children applauded, and young mothers offered words of gratitude. The reading sessions for new mothers that Rachel had started had become a popular event in town. Rachel, that was wonderful again today, Carol, the head librarian, approached. Participants are coming from neighboring towns to hear your readings. Thank you, Rachel smiled. Seeing the children's shining eyes makes me happy too. Sophia was laughing contentedly on her mother's lap. She had grown into a healthy, active baby and was loved by the library children. When they returned home, Jacob was preparing dinner. He continued his work as a teacher while actively sharing household chores. How was today? Jacob kissed his wife's cheek. It was wonderful. 3 new families joined us, Rachel answered happily. Margaret also shared dinner with them several times a week. She was an ideal grandmother, watching over Sophia with deep affection. Meanwhile, Linda and Brittany's lives had completely changed. The combination of Margaret stopping the support and the loss of reputation in town due to Jacob's social media post had confronted them with harsh reality. Linda's beauty salon saw customers staying away, making business difficult. Many customers said they didn't want to entrust their hair to someone who calls a newborn grandchild useless, and left. Brittany also found it difficult to get jobs locally and was forced to seriously confront her life for the first time. Brittany found work washing dishes at a restaurant in a neighboring town. Although it was manual labor she had always avoided, she had no choice. Through work, she began to learn the dignity of labor and gratitude toward others for the first time. Linda, spending more time alone, began to reflect on her past actions. Particularly, she remembered how much her late husband David had loved Rachel. He always said, "Rachel is a daughter with a beautiful heart." She was beginning to understand the meaning of those words now. 3 months ago, a letter arrived from Linda to Rachel. It was a long letter spanning 5 pages. To Rachel, I hesitated many times before writing this letter. But I wanted to convey my heartfelt apology to you. I committed an unforgivable mistake as a mother and as a human being. I belittled you for 31 years and spoke hurtful words about your beautiful daughter. There are no excuses. Since your father died, I was concerned only with vanity and appearances, losing sight of what was truly important. Your kindness, patience, and love for the children at the library, all of these were expressions of the beautiful heart you inherited from your father, but I failed to see it. I'm not asking for immediate forgiveness. But someday, with time, I want to work to atone for the sins I committed against you. Little Sophia will surely grow into a wonderful woman, raised by a mother like you. I'm truly, truly sorry. I love you. From Mother. Rachel read this letter many times. Tears came, but they were tears of complex emotions. After consulting with Jacob and Margaret, she decided to consider it carefully. Whether to forgive is your decision, Margaret said. But there's no need to rush until you see genuine change. One evening, Rachel was watching the sunset while holding Sophia. Her daughter was grasping her mother's hair with tiny hands and showing an adorable smile. I want you to walk a life filled with love, Rachel spoke to her daughter. In a world without discrimination or contempt. But at the same time, I want you to have a forgiving heart. Not for the other person's sake, but for your own. Jacob placed his hand on his wife's shoulder. You'll make the right decision. Take your time. In 6 months, Rachel had grown tremendously as a mother and as a woman. Above all, she learned the importance of setting boundaries to protect herself and her daughter. And at the same time, she truly felt the happiness of being supported by those she loved. The townspeople continued to warmly support Rachel. The reading sessions at the library were her way of contributing to society. Sophia was also loved by local people and was growing up healthily. Stars began to shine outside the window. Rachel held her daughter to her chest and thought, true family is not about blood relations, but about relationships bound by love and respect. And forgiveness is not something to be given easily, it only becomes possible after genuine repentance and change. Sophia began to breathe peacefully in sleep. Rachel quietly sang a lullaby while placing her hopes in her daughter's future. This child would grow up loved and would surely become a strong, kind woman. And when necessary, she would be a woman who could protect herself with a resolute attitude. As night deepened, the small family fell into peaceful sleep. Tomorrow would bring another day filled with love.